I'm Juanita and welcome back to the Knit Guru in the middle of what I'm calling spring cleaning month, even though it's autumn here in New Zealand, but it's spring where most of you are, and the weather is insane. So far this week, hopefully you've seen my video about these dishcloth dresses. If you haven't, I will link it because hilarious. 10 out of 10, everybody needs one, to be completely honest. I'm probably going to make one for everybody. Say out if you want one, I'll send you one. Today what we're going to do is we are going to do some reusable makeup wipes. I don't use a lot of makeup, which is a strange thing. Okay, when I use makeup, I use a lot of makeup because I do theatre, so there's that. So I don't like the other ones to reuse, throw them out once because it's just not me. So this video will include, hopefully, well, it's either going to be 2 videos or it's going to be 1 videos. We'll see how long it takes. We're going to have a knitted version and a pretty crocheted version, and basically all I do is make a whole stack of these, face toner, takes all the stage makeup off, throw these in the wash. Very simple. This is just a standard cotton on a 3.5mm needle. This is the exact same cotton on a 4mm crochet hook, I believe. And then this is the exact same pattern, but in some scraps of lily sugar and cream. So when you've got things that are really intense to try and get off, I could just reduce the size of the pattern, but I quite like having some large ones as well. So you get some cute sized ones and just a giant massive one. So here goes my tutorials. It'll be linked down below as to whether or not it's the knit one or the crochet one first in the video, and then we'll go for it. Whoop. Right, so this is editing me from the future in here now. Basically, this is going to be the knit version of the pattern, because here we've got just a standard cotton on, I want to say 4mm needles. I can't remember. This lily sugar and cream cotton, same pattern. It's come out much bigger, and this one's on the 4.5mm needles. And this one here, that's just a scrap of the Hobie summer sock yarn on 3mm needles. And basically, same pattern, different needle size, different sizes. But my reason for doing this is that this was what was left over from one pair of socks. So it's just a nice way of using up some yarn scraps as well from cotton. So today's pattern is the knitted version of the face wipes, and on Monday I will see you for the crocheted flower version. Right? I'll catch you then. Bye. So here we go. We're going to start by casting on 12 stitches. Now I know that there's lots of patterns that say what kind of cast on you should use. I always use this cable cast on whenever I can because I find that it just makes like a really nice edge. But to be honest, whatever cast on floats your boat. You do you, boo. There's no knitting police coming for you today on your cast on style. So you just need 12 stitches. I always tend to have to recount my 12 stitches because it's one of those ones where you start counting them as you put them on, you think you've got it, and then all of a sudden you realise you've got 11 stitches or 13 stitches, depending on how sidetracked you've gotten along the way. So in a moment I'm just going to count mine and discover that I've got the wrong number and then just flick one off. Could I have edited this out of the video? Yeah, I totally could have, but sometimes it's just nice to know that people make stupid mistakes. Right, so there we go. We've got 12 stitches. A first row and all of our odd numbered rows are just as easy. We're just going to knit. So we're going to knit these 12 stitches. Now my apologies for the fact that a lot of this video is in real time because I know some people are following along in real time. There is some of this video where I've just cut bits out because it's just watching me knit rows. But I've left the beginning bit and the middle bit and the end bit where there are changes happening to the pattern in real time. So there's our 12 stitches on row 1. So row 2 is where we're starting to increase to make our hexagon shape. It's not difficult, so just don't stress too much about it. We're going to knit 1. We're going to attempt to knit 1 again because, slippery needles and cotton. So we're going to knit 1 at the very start. That's just going to anchor the row. Then we're going to knit into the front and the back of the second stitch. Now, by doing that, it's a little tricky when you first do it, but you'll get the hang of it. If you knit into the front and back of the first stitch, you're going to increase by 1 stitch. Then we're going to knit all the way to the far end of the row until we have 2 stitches left on our needle. When we get to those last 2 stitches, the first one we're going to knit into the front and back, and then the last one we're just going to knit. So over that whole row, and in the case of the wrong side rows for half of this pattern, we're going to be doing an increase at either side. Now that increase is just going to bring us out and make the shape. So row 3, we are going to be just knitting straight across. Yep, we're knitting. You'll notice that the first couple of stitches are going to feel like they're tight? No. They're just going to look a little bit wrong until you're a couple of rows past it, because those increases are forcing the knitting out sideways. So don't worry if the first 2 and the last 2 stitches look a little weird until after you've done that following row. So, row 4, it's quite similar to row 2, only we're purling in the middle. So we're going to go knit 1, then we're going to knit into the front and back of the second stitch there. So we've increased by 1. We are now going to purl all the way across this row until we get to the last 2. Now, of course, you can just knit all of your rows. You don't have to do a purl row in between. I do because I like a smooth side and a rough side to my makeup wipe. I mean, I say rough side, but it's cotton. It's not that rough. So, second to last stitch, we are knitting into the front and the back. Now, the reason why we have knits, and then we're knitting 1. The reason why we have these knit stitches is just to stop the sides rolling in. You can choose to block your makeup wipes if you like. I don't, because I'm lazy, and they're makeup wipes. They're just going to be cleaning off my face and then going straight into the wash. Right, row 5. We are knitting straight across this row. By this point, you'll start seeing the shaping forming on our makeup wipe. So you'll see that the sides are indeed going out. You'll see that we've got this nice flat stockinette portion in the middle, and that we've got these knit stitches on either side that's creating a border, making it sort of sit a little flatter. Those knit stitches stop things from rolling in that stockinette stitch does on the sides. So we're just going to knit all the way to the end. And then this is going to be the last demonstration row of an increase. But I think you've got it. You've got this. This is not hard. You've got this. You do you. So row 6, we're going to knit 1, just like we have been. And then we're going to knit into the front and back of the next stitch. That gives us another increase. She says sliding around on the needles there. Now we're going to purl until the last 2 stitches. And when we get to those last 2 stitches, we're going to knit into the front and back of the second to last stitch, and then we're knitting that last stitch. What we're now going to do is you're going to repeat these rows. So right side rows are knitting, wrong side rows are knit 1, knit into the front and back, purl to the last 2, knit into the front and the back, and then knit the last one until you have 26 stitches on your needles. Now the 26th stitch on your needle point will bring you to almost the middle of our hexagon here. So 26 stitches across, and then we're coming back here. Right, just like magic, I'm up to row 17. So row 17, 18 and 19 are the center point of our hexagon. So there's no increasing or decreasing on these rows. So row 17, we're just knitting all the way across. Now, again, we're up to 26 stitches. That's now more than double the stitches we had when we started. So the rows take a little bit longer, but again, you can crank these out really quickly. What I like about this pattern, and I use it a lot, I knit and crochet with a reasonable amount of cotton. I've done a lot of amigurumi with cotton. I've done a lot of tops for summer, and recently I used the Hobie summer sock yarn, which is also cotton, to make a pair of socks. So I use a lot of cotton yarn, and I do have a lot of cotton yarn scraps. Sometimes those scraps are large enough that you can make a washcloth, but often, particularly with the summer sock yarn, you've got enough left that it makes a really soft, neat face wipe. Is it a matching set? No! You have odd ones, but that's half the joy of it. So this is our center row. It's a wrong side row, and we're going to knit 2, and no increasing or decreasing. We are just going to purl
all the way across this row until we get to the last 2 stitches, and then we're knitting those last 2 stitches. Now these 3 rows in the middle that don't have any increasing or decreasing just kind of help to shape the side corner of this hexagon. Does side corner even make sense? Who knows? But side corner, I know what I mean. And that's generally not what you want from a tutorial. I do have like a degree in teaching, so I should know words and teaching methods, but do I? Do I? No, I go with unhinged. So we're just going to knit these last 2 stitches. Now we're going to get over here to row 19 and we're going to knit all the way across. That's going to bring us to the end of these rows that are just there to just lengthen the hexagon in the center without increasing or decreasing. I found that if you don't have a couple of rows that just knit and purl, just move the piece longer. These are not words. I do have command of this. No, I don't really have command of the English language. I'm not sure anyone does. I think it's one of those languages that just takes off and runs away from you. When we have these rows in there, it's just going to make that corner side point of the hexagon just a little bit nicer. If it's not there, it's a little bit too pointy in my mind, and I don't want it to be too pointy. You might want it to be too pointy. I don't. And this is my pattern. So there's that. You can change it up any way you like. Honestly, you can make these just as squares and they work just as well. It's just trying to get stuff off your face and reuse yarn scraps, to be honest. Right, we're now going to decrease the sides of our hexagon. So row 20, we're going to knit 1. We're going to slip 2, as if you're going to knit them. And then no, we're not on this one here. In the demonstration version, I've gone with purl because I changed the pattern, didn't I? Anyway, we're going to slip, slip, knit on that second stitch. And then we're going to purl all the way across to the other side. When we get to the other side, we're going to have 2 stitches at the end. We're going to knit 2 together and we're going to knit 1. Why my demonstration version is the other way around? Well, you'll see when we get to the other side. If I'm going to purl this, it's just going to be more difficult than it needs to be. So I've changed the pattern since filming the tutorial. Well done, 180. You are a YouTube legend. See, if you decide you're going to purl them, you can't purl these 2 stitches together because it looks wrong from the other side. So you have to purl 2 together through the back loops. It's more complicated than it needs to be. Nobody needs that level of complication in their life. Just do the slip, slip, knit at the start of the row and then knit 2 together at the end of the row. That way you still maintain your knitted edge. It still sits nice and flat, but you don't have the just madness of having to try and purl 2 together that we just showed there. Why didn't I just refilm this? Mainly because I forgot that I changed the pattern since filming this. Oh, good times. Right, anyway, we are now currently on the next knit row, and we just knit all the way across the front. What we're getting is we're decreasing down these rows. Now, decreases just bring us in. These happen so quickly because all of a sudden your rows are flying by because you're losing 2 stitches every second row. So they really do knit up very quickly. While I was making breakfast yesterday, I made another one simply because I realised I hadn't put any short form content. I mean, no one's really watching the short form. Well, no one's really watching any of these, but it's fine. I enjoy making these videos. There's a level of chaos that comes along with it that I enjoy. Right, so we're going to knit the first stitch. Then we're going to slip 2 as if we're going to slip 2 knitwise, and then you put your needle through the back side and you knit them together. So you're slip, slip knitting. And then you're purling all the way across until we get to the last 2, and then we're knitting 2 together and knit 1. Again, my video is going to show you the wrong thing. Oh. I'm sorry, you're just deep in this with me. You can choose to purl 2 together if you like. You can choose to purl 2 together through the back loops if you like. You can just choose to knit 2 together at the very first, the very start of the row and the end of the row. If it doesn't matter to you which way your stitches lean. See, look how awkward this is. Like, I have used purl 2 together through the back loops a few times, particularly on some sock projects that had intricate patterning. But it's just a lot of faff for no payoff with a project like a face wipe when you can just knit two together in that same point. So don't do what I'm showing you. Do what I've written on the screen. And I'll try and make sure that the pictures on the Ribbler version are all going to be of the slip slip knit. Right, we're going to continue this patterning to bring things down until we have 14 stitches left on the needle. So we're just going to keep going on until we have 14 stitches left on the needle, and we're going to do this last row. Now this last row will have the SSK and the knit two together on it, so it's not going to be like I've left you in the lurch completely. It'll be why I forgot completely that I changed the pattern after filming the tutorial. So here we are knitting across this row of 14 stitches. Things are flying by. You may notice that I've managed to do this and have it all completely out of focus. Fortunately, we are just knitting. I only just noticed now while doing the voiceover that this bit's out of focus. It's either out of focus or I should be wearing my glasses, or both. Anyway, we're on row 32. This is our last decreasing row, and this is a knit row to give us that little row of edging that we started with at the start. So, we've got our stitches here, and we're now going to do... We knit one, and then we SSK. So this is a slip, and then a knit two together through the back loops. Oh, now we're in focus. Excellent, I fixed it. Now, I've changed it again, I've just noticed, because I noticed that I didn't knit two then before doing the SSK. But it now works better to just go knit one, SSK, knit to the last two, knit two together, knit one. It just brings things in nice and neatly, and it doesn't give you too much of a wide border or any of that nonsense. So knit two together, and then knit the last stitch, or in the case of my demonstration, knit the last two, because I really should just film the voiceovers at the same time as the tutorials rather than having a gap in between, because I'm clearly an idiot. We're now just going to cast off. You can use any form of cast off that floats your boat. I always do the same one where you knit two and then you pass one of the stitches over, and then you knit another one and then you pass the stitch over, and then you knit another one and then you pass the stitch over. I know that there's like a stretchy bind off. You definitely don't need a stretchy bind off that I use for socks and things, but mostly this is the bind off that I use. It's the first one I ever learnt. It does the job. Stitches were there, now stitches are not there. You know, it is what it is. So once we get to this last stitch, all we're going to do is cut the yarn with just a little bit of a yarn tail, enough that you can darn it in neatly and know that it's not going to come unwound at any point. And you're just going to thread it through that last stitch and pull it tight. And once you do that, it's all going to be complete. Now, I always do find that this last stitch on the previous row kind of pulls up when you do this, but when you're done in your end, it just tidies things up quite a bit. So you can block these if you really want to. You can use a granny square blocker, or you can just pin them on a towel. We're just going to darn in our ends, and we've darned in our ends. This is not blocked at all. That's just after it's had all the ends darned in and it's just been sitting there. So they sit quite flat even without blocking, but you don't need to block them. They're face wipes. So this top blue one is in the 3.5mm needles, and the bottom one is the Lily Sugar and Cream.